A tribute to Riz Ahmed, the Oscar-nominated actor breaking barriers. This article has been written by Caroline Schneider.
There's one thing, whoever plays this role has to really play the drums on screen and has to really learn sign language. And I was like, but I don't play the drums. He was like, okay, well, how long do you need to learn?
Riz Ahmed has been successful both in the acting and music industry and isn't stopping anytime soon. The individual has won a Primetime Emmy and has been nominated for Golden Globes, Screen Actor Guild Awards, Independent Spirit Awards, British Academy Film Awards, the BAFTAs, a Critics' Choice Award, and an Academy Award.
Riz Ahmed, The Sound of Metal.
This super talented star is also a successful rapper, has been on top of the Billboard 200 chart, and had the highest grossing movie at the box office within the same week, was named one of Time magazine's 100 most influential people in 2017, and is an advocate for refugee children. This individual would be none other than Riz Ahmed.
The place that you feel that you stick out the most is the place where you should stick it out and stay.
His early acting career. Riz Ahmed has had acting roles spanning 3 decades, having gotten his start in 2006's The Road to Guantanamo, a film about 3 British citizens who were captured by Americans in Afghanistan in 2001 and detained at Guantanamo Bay for more than 2 years. One of his other early films had him working alongside big names such as Kate Hudson, Kiefer Sutherland, and Liev Schreiber, the reluctant fundamentalist. A film based on the novel by the same name, which was aimed at addressing xenophobia and tolerance in post 9/11 America.
If you're just an innocent bystander, Chungus, why were you hiding?
The film which put Ahmed's name on the map was the 2014 film Nightcrawler, for which he received much acclaim and his first Independent Spirit Award nomination. When asked to reflect on making the film, he said, "Wow, yeah, I'm really proud of it. I tend to enjoy things that are not easy to pigeonhole, and I think that one walks a tightrope between horror and kind of a rags to riches thing. It's sort of this chimera, and I like that, maybe because I feel like I personally haven't fit into categories that are neatly laid out. I'm a fan of hybrid stuff, so I'm proud of it on that level. It was intense making it. I think Dan Gilroy is an amazing writer and director. Jake Gyllenhaal is such a dedicated actor, Renee Russo is amazing, and I wish she was in more stuff. It was awesome. The one downside was I didn't get to see any daylight for 6 weeks, which literally does something weird to your brain. You become this weird, vampire-like coyote, but I loved it.
Not seeing daylight for like a couple of months is itself, that's hard. It does very, very weird things to you.
Ahmed's biggest commercial successes have come from being in 2 of the biggest blockbusters in the 2010s, Jason Bourne and Rogue One, a Star Wars story. When talking about the difference between shooting the indie films he started off with in his career versus large blockbusters, he said, "What's interesting to me about the shooting process on these bigger movies is you have more time and more resources, so you can have another go at it. That can be a gift and a curse. There's something about the kinetic, frenzied scramble of indie filmmaking that doesn't allow you to stop and think, which is good. Sometimes you can overthink things."
Just kind of come off the back of doing a couple of bigger pictures like Venom and Bourne and Star Wars and stuff like that, which were huge learning experiences for me, having come from 10 years of just doing indie movies.
His award caliber roles. Riz Ahmed won his Primetime Emmy for his role in the HBO miniseries The Night Of, which made him the first South Asian male to win an acting Emmy and only the second South Asian person to have won an acting Emmy following Archie Punjabi.
Streaming shows or watching them, all around the world. So I think hopefully we're going to see a kind of globalization of our storytelling and a globalization of the talent pool that we draw from.
When discussing the themes of the show and his character, Ahmed said, "One of the themes of the show is in the wrong circumstances. People are capable of anything. And the idea that Naz has gone through a complete transformation resonates with me personally. As much as we all have certain characteristics within us that in the wrong circumstances that could come to the fore. So we see that with Naz."
I was in 5th grade when the towers came down. I didn't understand why I was getting beat up. Where my little brother was, when my dad got jumped in his cab twice.
At the moment, Ahmed has been making the rounds on the award show circuit for his role of Ruben in Sound of Metal, for which he has received a Golden Globe nomination, a Critics' Choice Award nomination, a Screen Actors Guild Award nomination, an Academy Award nomination, and won Best Lead Actor at the Independent Spirit Awards. When talking about what he learned from making Sound of Metal, Ahmed said, "For me, expressing myself in American Sign Language really opened me up in a different way. I had the most amazing ASL instructor, Jeremy Stone. He immersed me into his peer group and the deaf community, his wedding, slam poetry nights, and it was just to get to a point of fluency, because Darius wanted both the drumming and the ASL to be for real. Something he taught me was that deaf people think of hearing people as emotionally repressed. The reason is because we hide behind words. When I became more fluent in ASL, I found myself getting physically emotional, talking about things that I could just mention if I was speaking. I really feel like learning ASL allowed me to listen and communicate with my body, which is such a gift."
I learned in a big way about the deaf community and deaf representation in this movie. Deaf viewers who have seen this film is that they just feel so emotional that a project like this exists. It feels like a giant leap forwards, many people are saying, in terms of deaf representation on screen.
His music career. In addition to acting, Riz Ahmed also has a successful career as a rapper, using the name Riz MC.
Big up the stiff upper lip, half closed with push, half off the class A's and bass drops. Big up the class born to rule, all in the same class since boarding school.
His first song, Post 9/11 Blues, did not get much airplay due to getting banned from British Airways for satirizing some of the effects of 9/11, with the material being deemed politically sensitive. This prompted him to start his own record label, Battered Records, which he used to put out his album of the same name as his controversial song, and garnered him many awards as an MC in the mid to late 2000s.
Course we need Belmarsh for 28 days. We should put the whole of Oldham in its own cage.
In 2011, Ahmed announced that he had signed with an independent record label, True Thoughts, through which he would release 3 albums. He has also been featured on several tracks in recent years, most notably Immigrants Would Get the Job Done from the Hamilton mixtape. In 2020, he released his first album since 2016, The Long Goodbye.
So I'm ripping for the rest of us who know that there's no place like home and that stretches us, who code switch so don't piss me off with cricket tests for us.
When asked about why this was the right time to release a new album, Ahmed said, "I started to get the itch last summer. I thought, I've got to do this. I've got to say this. I want to make an album that's my breakup love letter to England. I'm going specific with my experience in Britain. But it's true if you're Muslim in India, Uyghur in China. It's true if you're Mexican in Queens, waiting for ICE, Immigration and Customs Enforcement, to knock down your door. This is how it feels for immigrants everywhere. I only make music when I've got something to get off my chest, when something that needs to be said isn't being said. So I wrote and recorded the album very quickly. It was on the tip of my tongue."
Came home one day, she changed the locks. My brown and white sepia sup now gone to pot.
His advocacy and impact on the entertainment industry. Riz Ahmed has also used his platform and fame to help others, specifically aiding refugees. He has helped to raise funds for Syrian refugee children. He has been very active in raising awareness about the displacement of Rohingya Muslims in Myanmar and raising funds for these refugees in Bangladesh.
For me personally, I definitely grew up code switching, as they call it here in America.
When talking about the struggles of these refugees and why people should help them, he said, "Right now, the story that seems to have been taking over people's imagination is that we live in an us versus them world. And we have to push back against that. There's no us versus them. We're all in this together. The idea of leaving one place to try to survive and flee suffering is a very basic human kind of behavior we can all relate to. We've all done that at some point in our lives. Anything we can do to highlight the plight of others less fortunate than us is very important in these troubled times.
Growing up, it was really confusing, but then I think when you get to a certain age, you realize it's actually really enriching.
Ahmed has also had a rather unique influence on the entertainment industry through his advocacy, specifically with representations of Muslims on screen. After seeing Ahmed on screen in several roles and listening to his speech to the House of Commons in 2017 on the lack of representation and diversity on screen, two academics created what they call the Riz test. The Riz test is a short questionnaire based on the Bechdel test that serves to combat and highlight the stereotypes of Muslims on screen.
What's at stake here is whether or not we will move forwards together, or whether we will leave people behind.
There are 6 pieces of criteria for the Riz test, and to pass this test and show positive representation of Muslims. The first part is identifying whether there is at least one prominent character who is identifiably Muslim, even through ethnicity, clothing, or language. If the answer is yes to the first piece, then you proceed to answer these 5 questions. Is the character talking about the victim of or the perpetrator of terrorism? Is the character presented as irrationally angry? Are they presented as superstitious, culturally backward, or anti-modern? Are they presented as a threat to a Western way of life? If the character is male, is he presented as misogynistic? Or if female, is she presented as oppressed by her male counterparts? If any of the answers to these questions is yes, then the piece of media has failed the Riz test.
Representation is not an added extra, it's not a frill. It's absolutely fundamental to what people expect from culture and from politics.
Ahmed has shown his appreciation and approval for the social test, agreeing that this discussion is much needed. While Ahmed's career spans 3 decades as of now, there is no question that he will be present for a long time to come.
You know, I might not have a passport to my own place. There may not be one place that I feel like I belong. But you know what? I've kind of got a visa to go anywhere.